Hello, welcome to Absolute BSS, the Casualpetitive podcast about Battle Spirit Saga, hosted by a couple of casualpetitive players. That's a term I just made up. My name is Cameron.
And my name is Eric. I'm also a casualpetitive player. I just found that out a couple
Yeah,
seconds ago.
you like that?
I like it. I like it.
We're not here to give you tournament lists. We're just here to talk about the cards and talk about which ones we like the most about the game and give our experience to it. So if
We're just
you know,
here to BS about BSS.
that's right. So if you're intimidated by like super competitive podcasts, that's not us. If that's what you're looking for, that's not us. But I hope you stick around because we're gonna have fun. We've been playing this game for a couple weeks now. And gosh dang it.
Oh, it's so fun. I was not expecting to like this. I've said this to you a few times. I was not expecting to like this game as much as I do.
Yeah.
Really like it. So
I agree. So I guess just a little bit of background about us and how we got into the game is a good place to start. And then what we're going to do on this first episode is a fun kind of like, NFL draft of the red cards from the first boost. So if you like that format, we're going to go through all the four colors and give our picks of like what we would really want to see in the pack, kind of why we like these specific cards from the colors. Yeah, my name is Cameron. I play a lot of card games. I grew up with Pokemon, for a bit, Magic the Gathering here. Played a lot more competitively on the digital card game scene, and currently I'm one of the few and proud Keyforge players. Very competitive there. Was invited to Worlds before it happened because of the pandemic, loss of algorithm. If you're a Keyforge fan, you understand my pain there. But Winds of Exchange coming out, the game's coming back, and was really drawn to this game by the core mechanic, which is the whole mana fix system. It's I think it's really neat. I think it's really well executed. It makes for some really fun game time decisions, and it really helps cost out the cards. You know what I mean? Like it helps with that that power. Like if you're gonna print a card that's super powerful, you're not gonna be able to play it all the time, right? But then with the reduction cost, stuff like that, it really creates a cool space and a lot of creativity and deck building, some exciting from the top rope.
absolutely. I think the reduction in cost is one of the coolest aspects of Battle Spirit Saga.
Yeah.
Like the ability to have these for example, like a game like Magic, you're always thinking about your mana curve in your deck, and you want things to be kind of this bell shape. But for this game, it changes it a little bit because like this thing that costs 8 could actually cost 4 in a
Right.
different situation. So you have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, and that honestly, lends itself to the deck building part of it, where you're like, man, I might run 4. Where, as in Magic, like you want to run 4 just so you see them. But in this game, like you could feasibly play a couple of these odd beasts, get them out there, and then moving around your course to level up the creatures. Is a big fan of it. But yeah,
I think now is also a good time to mention we're not going to explain how to play the game. I don't think.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good thing to bring in.
If you're interested in this game, go check out a how to play video and then come back and listen. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I got Eric into it. I was like, dude, there's this really neat looking high numbers game with like whatever lore, crazy, you illustration, Japanese game. Been out for a while. They're bringing it to the West. It seems cool. Here's a video that was aggressively targeted. I watch YouTube play card games a lot. It was Polygon, and they were playing with ProZD. And I was like, this is just fun. It's a really neat way. They did a good job of explaining the game. And then I think I sent like the Bandai official one. Those were really great resources to really quickly learn the rules of the game so that when we sat down at the table just a couple days later, we were ready. We were ready to go. But yeah,
sure.
Before we get into that start event, though, I'm sorry, Eric. introduce yourself and
Oh
your
yeah, yeah.
background with cards.
Yeah, so I'm Eric, and I've been playing card games since I was a little kid, same as Cam. I started with Yu-Gi-Oh! That was the one I played. I did collect Pokemon cards, but I never really played the game as a kid. I just like, you know, I always try to get like 50 EVs for no reason, just because I loved Eevee. Um, so I started with Yu-Gi-Oh, and then eventually that led me. I went to a bunch of like, you know, even as a small kid, I would go to like the regional events or whatever for Yu-Gi-Oh. I never really placed super high, but anytime I would win a few rounds, it would always feel so good. Um, and so I ended up playing a lot of Magic. Didn't really do anything super competitive with Magic, but you know, won a few FNMs and you know, went to a couple like store tournaments with Magic. I still play Magic on Magic Arena on my phone. So I typically make it to like plat or diamond on there each season. Really, really fun. I love Magic still to this day. I've been playing Magic since like 2008, I think, when Lorwyn came out. On and off, of course, like, you know, I sold all my Magic cards at one point and then ended up buying a bunch of cards back because I don't think anyone ever actually fully quits Magic. You kind of just take a break
So
because
true.
the game is just so good. um, that did eventually lead me to the living card game by Fantasy Flight Games, Android Netrunner. And I that was actually the game I played the most at a high competitive level. And I did go to the 2018 World Championships for Android Netrunner. I placed pretty well. I did not win or make it to day two, but I was pretty happy with my placing. So that was good enough for me. Just even going there and like seeing all of the people that I've seen play on like Team Covenant's YouTube channel and stuff was just really cool.
Good old Team Covenant, man.
Oh yeah, huge shout out to them. Not that they need it from us, but
Yeah.
their videos have gotten me into so many games and convinced me to spend so much money on Fantasy Flight products.
Yeah.
So, and that leads me to Keyforge, which is where I met you, Cam.
That's
We
right.
started playing Keyforge at the local board game cafe around the corner,
Yep.
and I believe we confirmed that we're both you're Cam Keyforge in my phone, and I'm Eric Keyforge in your phone. So that's pretty
Yes.
funny.
Yeah, that is how it started and how it remains. But it is really
Yeah.
cool, man, that like, I knew and we said all that just so you get an idea of kind of like why we're a little bit knowledgeable enough to do a podcast, because otherwise why would you even. But yeah,
We've played a
it's
lot of games, a
yeah,
lot of card
exactly.
games, especially.
Yeah, we play a lot of games together, and this one especially, I was just looking for someone who'd be down to drive a half hour out of town with me to go try a card game, and that is how we got into our first um event for this game. So I heard about the
Yeah,
game through
let's
YouTube.
talk about that event. That would be
Yeah.
cool. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, go
yeah. It was a good one for you. I heard about the game.
ahead.
I hit Eric up. I'm like, come with me to this. Here are the videos. I think it would be cool. So I searched online for a release event for this. So this would have been early May. The game came out right at the end of April, like about a week. Found a store not that far away. We went in, signed up. We got what, 4 packs to work with, or 6?
Something like that. I think it was six,
I think it was
actually.
six
Yeah.
packs. 6 packs. We got the cores, and we had to put together a 50 card deck with whatever we had. And there was no like rainbow reduction or anything, so that was kind of fun. But like basically, got to get the excitement of opening the cards, trying to put together. Obviously that's going to lend it to aggro, but uh, we played what, 3 rounds of Swiss,
Yeah, three
and
rounds. Yep.
it actually ended up being Eric and I against each other. We both went 2-0, faced off against each other. And well, do you want to say what happened at the end of the event?
Well, we had a very good game. I ended up taking the win. and I got a booster box of cards, which I was kind of on the fence about getting into this game. But then when I won a whole booster box, I was like, I guess I'm playing this game now.
Yes,
I have a shit ton of cards.
a
So
good way to be convinced.
yeah.
So that was our first step into the game world, and yeah, Eric getting a big collection. There was a store event 3 days later after this. Oh, let's
It was
construct
really
some
far.
deck. It was
This
really
one's really
far.
far.
This was an hour drive from me. Eric had to drive to me, and then I drove us the rest. So it was a long trip, but we constructed some decks, took them to this really nice, played in a 4-round switch. Man, I'm just hooked. So obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's so fun, and honestly, we've also made some pretty good, like we've met some pretty cool people so far, and have made some friends, and it's like everyone who I've met who plays this is genuinely pretty nice so
Yeah,
far,
it's
from what
neat
I've seen.
because we're in on the ground floor, relatively new game, and that is really encouraging when you meet people from all different kinds of backgrounds with cards, but that are all excited about. But it's something that drew me to keep, because every time you open a deck, everyone's around like, "Oh, what'd you get?" Because those cards are unique, obviously. But even in a collectible card game, especially when that drops or the itself is coming, it is really cool to be in a room with a bunch of like-minded people geeking out over these cards and then down on the table. And you're right; it's already built some just really positive experiences with this whole game, and that's another reason why we decided to just put up a podcast. We didn't see anybody doing them. They might exist.
Yeah, if you're out there and we just said you don't exist, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, but you
Let
don't
us
need
know that you
us.
exist so we can chat.
Yeah, but if anybody's listening to this right now, hi, let's hang out. Let's geek out. Let's talk about the game, and we're just gonna try to do some fun stuff with it. We're not running like tournament lists. We're not telling you what's meta, because I don't think the dust has settled on the meta yet. And anyone who tells you that it has is probably really good at card games, and you should take some of their advice, but can't fully 100. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely some cards that have kind of, you know, the cream has risen to the top a little bit on a few.
Yes.
Like we can see like Absolute Ice Shield is just a banger of a card. Like
Which
uh
Eric has a few of those.
oh yeah, I've gotten really lucky and pulled those out of packs like crazy, and very fortunate for that, to have a playset of those.
He's being humble. He's opened 5, and 2 of them are alt art.
Yeah, it's really tempting to sell those, but also like now that I'm kind of really getting into this game, I'm like, ah, this is like if you're gonna have an alt art card, like I feel like that's one of the ones you want to have. And it's actually a really pretty alt art as well. It looks so cool.
Yep. And that's one other quick side note. The art in this game is really neat. It's like, nondescript fantasy, but like, I don't know. It's just really neat. The illustrations are really cool. They're just big, awesome monsters. That's fun.
Yeah.
Fun
And
to just slap down them all.
that weird little giraffe baby that is wearing a wedding dress or whatever that card is.
Okapandle.
Okapandle, yeah.
Yeah, right before we recorded this, Eric and I played a few games. Purple deck. Creature called Okapandle, which, let me look. I think that's I think that comes in the starter deck. But
Oh, maybe.
let me look for it. Because we do have a video companion for this. It's not like super important to watch the video companion. But if you are watching this on YouTube or listening, tab back over, I have Okapandle or on the video, and you can see what we're talking. Melty wax zebra giraffe thing and some flowy white lace, and it's a scary undead card. But what are we? Yeah, do you want to explain what we're moving
Yeah.
into here with this draft idea? This was Eric's idea to kind of go through the set and kind of what we're going to do for the first couple of episodes.
Yeah, so I thought it would be fun for us to essentially pretend that we're draft picking cards from the very first set, and so we have a kind of like a little mini tier list that's personal to each of us, 1 to 10 cards that we've picked. This first episode, we're gonna do just the red cards from the base set. I think it's called Dawn of History or something like that. The base
Yes.
set. Um, so yeah, we're gonna basically we have 10 cards in a list and we're gonna draft those against each other and see. So if I pick one and it was on your list, you can't pick that card anymore. So
Right.
I suspect that our lists are gonna be a little different though.
I
So
think so.
I
Just
don't
from
know that
the
that's gonna be a
games,
problem.
yeah, just from the games that we've played, colors that we gravitated. I think it's safe to say that you favor white, I favor yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely really like white, but we're starting with red, so I neither one of us has really played a whole lot of red. So I'm
exactly. So
interested to
that's
see like what we pick.
yeah, that's also going to shape this list. But yeah, the basic premise again is just we're we're looking at the sets or the set of cards from Dawn of History, red cards. So not the starter deck cards, not the promotional cards, but our reasoning for these picks could include keeping the pool a little small. This is our personal top 10 cards that we would again, yeah, both of us are a little unfamiliar with red. So some of you hardcore red players might be extremely upset with some of our picks and where they're being played. But again, casual competitive, right? We're just looking at red as it comes, and I'm excited to explore. So let's get into it.
Yeah, do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So my first round draft pick, I am picking this number one card right here. Burning Force is my number one pick.
That's yeah, that makes a lot of
So
sense.
I'll if you pull it up on your screen there, you probably already did. I'll read Burning Force here really quick.
Yep.
It is a magic card with a main and a flash ability. It costs 5 and it can be reduced by 2. And all the cards we're talking about are red. So the main ability is you can destroy an opponent's nexus, and then it has a flash ability that you can destroy 2 of your opponent's spirits with 3,000 BP or fewer. So the reason I picked this super versatile card. Um, I think Nexus Destruction is something that is extremely powerful. And I run this card in my white deck, I run it in my purple deck, and if I had a red deck, which I don't yet, but I think I'm going to build one after this episode, I would run 4 of this card in there. It's super versatile, has a flash ability, it's a 2-for-1. I think if we're talking about card advantage here, like you're trading this one card for 2 of your opponent's spirits, or it could be a 1-for-1. But there's not a whole lot of ways to destroy nexuses right now. There's lots of ways to return them to your opponent's hand in white, but not a lot of ways to just straight up kill them. So that's my number one pick, Burning Force.
I like that card too because in control aggro a little bit. Especially if you're also trying to use aggro in that mirror match, eliminating your opponent's blockers, go a little bit wider, either on your turn or you're trying to swing. So good.
Absolutely, and you can flash it in to
Right.
eliminate their creatures. So yeah, if you got a board of 7 spirits and I have 7 spirits as well, and you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna go all in, and you start swinging, I can just boom boom. All right, now the numbers are different.
Yep. It's a Swiss Army knife spell card for sure. I do like it. And there's a big dino
Oh,
on
oh yeah, the art is awesome.
it. All right.
uh, was Burning Force on your list of 10? Did
It
I eliminate one of
was.
yours? Nice.
It
All right,
was
cool.
in my 5th spot.
Ooh, okay. Well, what's your number one?
My number 1 is Jurassic King Gigano.
Oh man, big boy.
This card is so cool. It's absurdly named. The art is really, really neat. It looks like a Digimon. Jurassic King Giganorex is 8 cost Pterosaur card that can be reduced by 6. So this is one of the big X rare cards in the set. I don't have a Pterosaur deck, but I hear a lot of talk about Pterosaurs. It's your aggro. It's your, when you think of red in a card game, you think of very aggressive fire and just big beefy creatures, and this guy has it all. So this spirit says, when summoned from your hand, you may count each symbol on your Pterosaur or Emperor Beast spirits on the symbols when calculating cost reduction. So he's kind of cheap. Like, even if you don't have 6 separate cards on the field, if you have, just say, 3 Pterosaurs, then you can still pull them out for only 2. And that's really great.
He costs 8 and he has 6 reduction symbols. So
yeah, that's brutal.
So cheap.
And so I feel like that lends itself to any part of your aggro game, because even at level 1, he's a 5k. If you only have Pterosaur or Emperor Beast spirits on the field, he is treated as a level 3, which is 10k. And then at level 2, with 3 cores on him, he gains Confront, which is your opponent must block if able when attacks, 7k. And then if you are in the later game, or you have a lot of core build up from losing some health and trade, that at level 3 for 6 cores, when this spirit attacks, all of your spirits gain 3000 BP per turn. But again, you don't need that if you're only running Pterosaur. So he just comes in, buffs up your aggro field. You can make your opponent block with Confront, because a lot of the other Pterosaurs or Beasts have that key. And you just run them down. And I think that's a really fun strategy. I've not played aggro really yet in this game, but it, I mean, obviously viable. And especially in the early development stages of a game, aggro is always really fun too. Jurassic King Giganorex definitely winning strategy. I think he's a cool card.
Yeah, I think if you're playing Pterosaur, he's a must-have.
Yes.
The Emperor Beast spirits. I don't. Is there an Emperor Beast build going around, or is it mostly Pterosaur?
I think it's mostly Pterosaur, but there's some good tech with the Emperor. And like, again, with him, he gets reduced by the Pterosaurs. But like, one of the cards, an honorable mention, almost made my list just because of the art, is Fierce Gorer Horn Grizzly. 3 cost, 1 reduction, Emperor Beast. At level 2 and 3, it gets Confront. And at level 2 and 3, he's pretty buff. So, pretty neat card. There's just a lot of, I feel like that's a really fun way to get into the game. Have big buff, wide board, go hard. Again, saying I played Jurassic King Giganorex, awesome. So that's my number 1. I think he's cool.
Nice. He wasn't on my list, but he almost made it. He's a sick card. He's really cool.
Very, very neat. I'm looking for him. Axe.
Yeah, I don't think I have any copies of him yet, but I would like to play around with him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. My number 2 is this is gonna feel like a weird pick.
Okay.
My number 2 is Bearded Eagle.
Okay. You know what? I respect that.
And I'll explain why. I think Bearded Eagle is insanely good.
Yeah.
So Bearded Eagle is a 3 cost, 3 reduction. I see that he's an Emperor Beast. I didn't even notice that before.
Yeah,
so
look at that.
Could work well with the Giganorex, maybe. But 3 cost, 3 reductions, so you can play this dude for free.
Yep.
He has at level 1 he's 3k, at level 2 he's 5k, and at level 3 he's 7k. For 1, 2, and 4 cores, respectively. And he doesn't have any text, but I picked him just because of the numbers. Like, just the numbers on this dude. So you can play him for free, and then at 2 cores, he escapes most removal. So
Yeah.
at 5K, he's out of the range of most removal. And then at 7K, he can get through most things. And if you're playing him for free, putting those 4 cores on him is really not that big of an expense.
Yeah.
And even if you're just paying 3 for him, if you play him, you could play him like first turn and have like a 3K, or if you're going second, you could play him, and have a 5K, and
Yeah.
that's not bad.
No,
So,
it's huge. It's the scaling there is great, like you said. Yeah, you're never bummed to draw into Bearded Eagle part of the game.
yeah, I think he's just a really cool card, and I like the art.
Yeah, again, the art is so good.
Just like this. Well, he's a bearded eagle, I guess. Flapping his wings. He's got gemstones in his wings.
Giant horn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks intimidating. Like his power stat line matches the art. It just looks good.
Yeah. Big fan of bearded eagle.
That's
All right,
cool.
what's up for you for number 2?
Like that one. Number 2 for me is another Emperor Beast.
Oh.
This is one that I opened at our first event, the pack event, and it really came in clutch against aggro, and it works against yellow, and just one of those weird tech cards that I think people aren't expecting. And this is Storm Beast Emperor Thunder Leon. So this is a 5-cost Emperor Beast with 2 red reduction. Level 1 for 1 core is 3,000 attack. Level 2 is 3 cores, 5,000. Level 3 is 5 cores, 8. But its when summoned effect at level 1, 2, and 3 says destroy all of your opponent's spirits with 2,000 or fewer BP. Your opponent's when destroyed effects are not triggered by this effect.
Wow.
So
that just wrecks purple and yellow.
yeah, and especially, oh well, I guess freestyle isn't when destroyed, but yeah, but you're right. Like it just clears out the aggro. It clears out those sticky little bombs that when they blow up, they take stuff with them, and it just looks cool. It's again just really neat art. It's this weird kind of like Soul Galio kind of art and illustration, but I just think it's a fun little tech. You slot one of these guys in to go crazy, unless you want to see Emperor great. Again, I just think it's one of those that people don't see coming, especially as someone who does play yellow and is so hyper aware of 2,000 or fewer BP. I know how wide that can get, but I know how easily that can get. I'm on the lookout for cards. And I think he would also slot well into purple. Like if you're playing purple core removal and can get creatures down to 1 core and then drop this guy, he's going to take out a lot of the card pool.
Yeah, you could play the Dark Bishop guy.
Yes.
And reduce them all down to 1 core and then drop him. He's kind of a mini Infernal King Curse Dragon.
Right. I think this card makes sense in a purple deck. I know you have to drop 5 to bring him in, but sometimes that works. And so I think because of that, lots in at number 2, and because I own one.
I don't know if you mentioned this or not too, but at level 3 he also draws a card for you.
Oh, that's right.
Attacks.
Yeah, when he attacks with 8k, 5 cores on him, you get to draw a card. And that's always good because red doesn't have a ton of draw. You have Star Blast draw, you have burst draw. What's that card called? Or I forget. Clash draw or something like that. It's in the starter deck. But yeah, any card that lets you draw in this game is infinitely better. So
yeah, for sure.
I think that's a cool game, or a cool mid-range card right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, he almost made my list as well, but he
nice.
did not. So
what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Glug Glug. We're gonna look at Flamefish.
I was wondering how high Flamefish would be. This card surprised me at the event of just how versatile it is, but I'll let you talk about him. Go for it.
Yeah, so Flamefish is a lava fish, which I really hope that card type comes into play.
I would love to see more of these. Yes.
Yeah, we just have all sorts of different lava fish cards. There's like King Flamefish. he's a 2 cost, can get reduced by 1. Um, but level 1 for 1 gem is 1,000. Level 2 for 3 gems is 3,000. And level 3 for 4 gems is 4,000. And when Flamefish is destroyed at any level, if it has the Soul Core on it, you can select one of your opponent's spirits with 4,000 or fewer BP and destroy it. So the reason I picked this card is this is essentially a red card with curse.
Yeah.
It's a it's like red's version of curse. So you just like, especially early game, late game maybe not so much, especially against white, because they might have some like big dude, like all their dudes might have like 8 or 10k.
Exactly.
But I think if you're playing against yellow or purple, or another red deck, especially early game and against yellow and purple, maybe even late game, this card will just get some damage through for you because your opponent doesn't want you to take out one of their key pieces. And I think one thing that you want to keep in mind with this is that it doesn't have to target the spirit that blocks it to destroy it when you
Right.
swing with it. You can target something else. So if you're playing against yellow, you could target like their freeze stall or whatever, to just get it out of there.
Right.
And yeah, it's honestly, the numbers aren't too bad on it either. I mean, 4 for 4K, 4 gems or 4 cores for 4K feels a little high, but I can see myself doing three cores to get it up to 3K and just like get some damage in. And
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those things that I think is really annoying, and then if your opponent doesn't do anything about it, it can really run away with the game.
I love this card too because I feel like it's worth, if you have a playset of it, and are looking for a couple more lower cost cards for your curve, I think you throw it in because you're right. It's a really fun early turn play. It's good targeted removal. And in red decks especially, where a lot of cards don't really care about the soul core, it's a no-brainer to just slap that one on a Flamefish. And you have a lot of more versatility. It's a neat card.
I think that's a really good point too. It needs the soul core, and in red, for the most part, you don't really care where your soul core is. So
Right.
this kind of gives you a purpose for that.
Yeah. And one other thing with it I think is pretty fun is you slap a lot of cores on it. You can flash in some cards that buff it and kind of make it sticky so that if they finally think they're going to get past the Flamefish, just buff it up, kill the thing that attacked it, or trade with the thing that attacked it and take out a card with it. And then you get all those cores back to flash in some fun red tricks or whatever you want. So I agree. I don't think there's any downside to Flame.
Yep, really good card.
It was on my list, but again, I put this one down towards the bottom because you and I just play different.
Yeah. What's next for you?
My number 3 is Centaursaurus. So this is another Pterosaur card, which again, I don't own these cards. I don't have a lot of practice with them, but they just look really, really fun to me. If I'm going to pick up red, I want it to be with these cards. Centaursaurus is a 4-cost, 2 red reduction Pterosaur. At level 1, it has 2,000 attack for 1 core. It goes up to level 2 with 3 cores and has 5,000 attack. But its abilities are what's really cool. Seems like a no-brainer to put into a Pterosaur deck because of its supportive nature. So at level 1 and 2, when this spirit attacks, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Pterosaur, add it to your hand. If it is not, return it to the top of your deck. You're not even burning a card. You are showing it to your opponent, but you're not losing it. Yellow has a lot of reveal this, if it's this, add it to your hand. If it's not, discard it. And that can make some feel bad moments.
I didn't even read that way. I thought you discarded it.
Right.
Wow. I just didn't even read it. Just like, my brain filled in the rest of the text.
Yeah. Because I think that's why I put him so highly, because of how unique that text reads, where it's like, oh, well, it's not a Pterosaur, but I still get to get this card next turn. And while there is that draw of your opponent knows what's being added to your hand, you don't have a lot of extra draw in your deck, and you're running cards that could help them determine if they swing. But I feel like he's cheap enough. You're putting him out here early. You're attacking with your red anyway because you're aggro, and you're just looking to make your board a little fighter. And at level 2, while it attacks, it gains 1000 BP for every pterosaur spirit you control, including itself. So really, at level 2 for 3 cores, while it is attacking, it's a 6k. So
Man, you're reading these cards much closer than I am, because I didn't notice that part either.
It's a cool card.
I read it as every other pterosaur.
Right.
But it doesn't say that. It
And
says
discard the top card of your deck. Nope. This guy, I would run 4 copies of this.
Wow. Okay, I'm feeling pretty inspired to build a pterosaur deck.
Right?
We should each build. We each need to build a pterosaur deck and
We
have
should.
a dinosaur face off.
We should. That'd be so fun. I love the idea of these pterosaurs.
So this guy didn't make it into my list, but I did actually just get 4 copies of him in the mail because singles for this game, as of this recording, are still so cheap.
Yeah.
I just picked up a playset. I think I actually have 6 copies of him now because I ended up pulling him out of some packs.
Cool.
So if you want to borrow some, we can both rock pterosaur decks. I think the Gigano Rex is going to be difficult, but
yeah, I'll have to find my own. But yeah, well, yeah, you told me you're like, I don't know why I bought a full playset of this, but he just looked cool, and I'm like, I know why that card rules.
Yeah, I just
my
hadn't even
number
read
3.
It.
Yeah.
One quick thing. This is a weird thing. The art on this card is very strange to me.
Yeah. I had to look
so
at it a long time to figure out what I'm looking
at. A couple of things here. The leg. The leg looks like an arm, but it's not. It's the leg coming up.
Right.
And he has 4 eyeballs on the chest. There's 4 eyeballs on the chest of this dinosaur.
Yeah.
And also, I guess this is occurring during like a solar eclipse.
Yeah, look at that. The sun is completely blotted out.
Yeah. And there's like a fire to the dinosaur's left. I don't know. What's up with the 4 eyeballs on the chest? That's really.
I don't know, man. He's looking like a Reggie Rock or something. They are neat though. There's a lot of blades on this thing, a lot of sharp edges.
Yeah.
Very Jurassic Park.
I dig it. All right. My number 4 pick is I pulled this card at the release event, and I instantly fell in love with it. It reminds me of a Pokemon. It's Raging Dino Dyrano Rex.
This is also my 4th pick. So,
oh hell yeah!
Yeah, let's talk about
it. Yeah. So the reason it was my 4th pick. So all right, we'll talk about the card first. It's a 7 cost pterosaur with a 4 reduction symbols. So you could play him for 3, which in a pterosaur deck, when you're dropping all these like little dinosaurs and stuff all the time, like pretty doable. Level 1 for 1 core, 5,000. Level 2 for 3 cores, 7,000. And level 3 for 5 cores, 9,000. At all 3 levels, it has Confront, so your opponent has to block this. And then at level 3, when it attacks, you select one of your opponent's spirits with 4,000 or fewer BP, and you just straight up destroy it. So this card is nuts. It's like 4,000 or fewer BP doesn't hit my pal Bearded Eagle. Bearded Eagle's still safe. So
right.
At level 2 anyways, it doesn't hit Bearded Eagle. But 4,000 or fewer BP hits a lot of things.
Yeah. And that when that effect goes off, that's before your opponent even declares a blocker. So they must declare a blocker after you remove something with 4,000 or fewer. You can take away a chump blocker. Either they have to throw a second chump blocker at it or something a little bigger. And it's up there with 7,000 or even 9,000. Covers a lot of blockers there.
I think the reason I like this card so much is the same reason I like Burning Force. It's a 2-for-1.
Exactly.
Like, this card basically says kill something and either take away a life point or kill something else as well.
Yep.
And then maybe it doesn't even die after that. Maybe it's still around.
Right. Simple math. And again, a lot of good red nexuses that increase your attack power while you're attacking. Flashes you can bring in if they up their defense a little bit. You can them out more and keep this guy around to to eat more creatures. Hungry.
And he looks like Groudon.
Yep.
Is that his name? Groudon?
Yep. It looks like Duraludon, Tyranitar, Groudon. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And
It
that's
honestly,
yeah.
it kind of looks like Godzilla as well. I just really
Yeah.
like the art.
Yeah, like it's just a big somewhat mecha dinosaur thing and
Yeah.
stomping mad. I love it.
In a way, he kind of looks like a snapping turtle as well.
Yeah, definitely
I
has
like that.
features
You
as
know,
well. It's cool.
I've never looked super closely at a lot of the pterosaur art, but he has eyeballs on his chest as well.
So does Jurassic King Giganorex. And I
Interesting.
wonder, yeah, the more eyeballs you have, the more powerful you
There you go.
are.
So wait, anything else that I didn't cover as far as why this would be in your fourth slot as well?
No, I think you nailed it. Especially like, you know, when I'm looking at this kind of draft format, I'm looking at in clear wide because I know how powerful wide board.
Yeah.
In this game, sometimes it's just a numbers game. If you have enough little guys and they don't have answers, you so anything that you can drop relatively cheap. Again, 4 reduction cost for a 7 cost creature. You bring this guy in, he's already pumped. Put a couple more cores on him, and that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just messes with the blockers. Like, your opponent might think, like, okay, I have 2 life left, but I have 3 creatures to block with, so I'm safe. And then you drop this dude, kill something, and swing, and it's just like, oh, my math was totally wrong.
Right. And then you're SOL, getting
Yep.
eaten.
Yep.
All right. Well,
All
that
right.
was also my number 4. So what is your number 5?
Yeah, your number 5 was Burning Force, right?
It is.
Okay. So my number 5. If I say this wrong, you might have to bleep it.
Okay. I think I know where this is
Yeah, you
going.
probably know what card this is. All right, here we go. I hopefully, this doesn't come back to bite me someday. This little soundbite. I shouldn't have hyped it up so much.
I
Now
know.
people are definitely gonna like pull this out as a soundbite. Vag rhinoceros.
Oh yeah. We've had some
um,
good laughs about this one.
yeah, and in fact, I wanted to maybe make this like somehow part of our team name or something.
Yeah.
I think, or the podcast name. I don't know. I think Absolute BSS is a bit better though. I like that.
I like that. But this
All
was a
right.
close second.
Oh yeah.
Vajrinoceros. I'll say it too.
Yeah.
Vajrinoceros? I don't
Vajra.
know. Either way, yeah.
It's an armored rhinoceros with like a thundering uh horn.
Horn blade. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
it is. It's really cool. It's an Emperor Beast, 4 cost, 3 cost reduction. This is another textless card. At level 1 for 1 core, it's a 4K, and at level 2 for 3 cores, it's a 7K. This is another example of just straight up good numbers. Like the
Yep.
same reason I picked Bearded Eagle. You can play this card for 1 and it's at a 4K. That's outside of the range of Burning Force, and you can get it up to 7K pretty quick, and that's going to be outside of the range of a lot of removal and be just like a pretty beefy attacker or defender, depending on what you need in the moment. I just feel like if you draw this card, it can help you with how cheap it is. You can go aggro with it really easily, or it can just be a clutch like draw to help defend yourself to stay alive for one more turn.
Yep.
So
I
I
feel
just
like
really like the numbers here.
yeah, the numbers are great. Like you said, cheap drop, cheap to build up. I think this deck works. Aggressive red deck also work in pink decks. So when you're splashing in red to white or white to red, cards like Spring of Norn, which is a starter deck card. But there's a lot there. You know, Spring of Norn gives you your textless creatures a lot of power. And red and white both have a good amount solid scaling textless. So I totally I like Ash Rhinoceros.
Yeah, one of my faves. What was Vag Rhinoceros on your list?
It was not on this list, but I do
Okay.
love that card. I really do like playing.
Yeah.
It's
Unfortunate
good.
name, but great card.
Right. All right. Well,
All
what
right.
is your number 6 then?
Oh, you don't. Oh, did I take your number 5 too? Oh, it was Burning
My
Force,
5
wasn't it?
was Burning Force.
My number 6 is Star Blessed Draw.
Mine too. Let's do it.
Oh. All right. Star Blessed Draw. Here, why don't you talk about it? I've been talking
Okay.
about the other cards.
Starblast Draw is a 4-cost magic card with 2 red reduction. It is a burst card, so you can set this card into your burst zone and activate it when your opponent resolves a spirit's summoned effect. So you can flip it over, play it for free, draw 2 cards. Then you can pay the card's cost to activate its main effect, which is draw 2 cards. So obviously, in any kind of game where the decks are a little higher count, 50 cards in this game, gonna want some draw engine. And I think what's really great about this card is can trigger it for your opponent is some cards. You can potentially get 4 cards out of it, or you can main phase it, draw 2 cards, and keep on going. Doing a red deck, got some cards on the field, but it also really lends itself to pretty much every color, especially in
Yeah,
yellow decks that can give it yellow reduction. You can pop this out, or with the pen cards. I just don't see why you wouldn't run at least 2 Star Blast Draw in all deck. Just so good.
yeah. I run 2 in most of my decks, and it's the same thing with Burning Force, like I was talking about earlier. Like if I built a red deck, I'd probably be a 4 of.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and that's really it. It's a simple card. Like, it does what it does. It's got an alt art version that's got some really funky art. One funny anecdote about this card: the constructed tournament that we went to, that store. I was testing out a Textless deck, red with white flash. Actually, it was just full red, but I ran 4 copies of Spring of North. Um, in my first match, my opponent was playing yellow, but they dropped this card into their burst zone, and it sat there the whole game because none of my creatures had Wind Summoned effect. And
Oh
I
man.
just thought that was pretty funny. We had a good laugh about it after the game was over.
Yeah.
But luckily, they were also running like 3 other copies of it, so they did get to use it off for its main. But it's just a cool card to throw down. It can help you come back from some bad draws or some bad turns. Again, just red has a lot of versatile cards. They're not all just about aggro, and card draw again is just very, very valuable.
Red has really splashable cards. Like
Yep.
some of the best. I mean, we've already talked about Burning Force, and
Right.
then this, like 2 of the best Magic cards in the game, in my opinion, at the moment.
Yeah.
Very good cards.
Sitting in red.
What is your opinion on the? So, like, if you're playing this card outside of red, you don't get the cost reduction. Playing it out of hand for 4 just to draw 2.
I
Do you
think
think
it's
it's
worth
worth
it.
it?
I think
You
it
think so?
is. I
Okay.
think there are some points in a game where you don't want to just spend your turn doing this, but like especially towards mid-range plays, like if your deck is gonna stick around for a while, you're collecting some cores. If your opponent pulls off a good trick, kind of gets you on the ropes, being able to pick up a couple of cards, might just be come back from that. Or if you already have a decent lead and you've got some buff creatures, like say you're running white and you already have a bunch of your, but you pick up fresh step, get a couple of extra cards and keep that pressure on. I just, again, 2 copies of it. I'm never sad to see Star Blessed draw, because when you draw 1 of it, up 2 other cards at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I drawing 4 off of the burst definitely feels a whole lot better, but the the problem I've had with this card sometimes is I set it in my burst, and then like your opponent,
Yeah,
like it just never triggers.
right.
And
And you're taking up that burst spot and feel
yeah,
bad.
Because it's like, man, I wish that I just had an absolute ice shield down there instead.
Right.
Um,
That's
but I
very
feel like
fair.
I probably feel like I wish I had an absolute ice shield in my burst zone at all times, anyways. But
Yeah,
uh, but Starblast Draw, when you do get it to go off with a burst, I mean, drawing 4 cards.
feels
I mean,
good.
that's a that's so many cards
It is.
in
It
a
really
50
is.
card deck. In a 50 card deck with 4 copies of each card potentially, like you're gonna see like a lot of key pieces with 4 cards.
Yeah, I think it's definitely splashable. 1 or 2 copies. You're running full red. Might as well throw 4. Like, is that? I mean, it's a cheap card.
Yeah,
Cheap.
it, it's good.
Yep.
What's next? You're number 7.
Sure. Let me move on to my number 7. I don't think is probably going to be on yours. I would guess, but based on the rest of these, but it's a Nexus. I think this is our first Nexus on the list. I picked this partly because I pull the shiny one, and it's really neat. Again, when I look at red, because I haven't played it yet, I want to play Pterosaur. This card is called Ancient Fault. This is a 5-cost Nexus with 4 red reductions. So again, cheap. Cheap is good, especially if you're going aggro. You want to spend those cores on creatures, but draw this, you can throw it down. At level 1 or 2, for 0 cores, treat its Nexus symbol as 2 red reduction symbols. So that lends into the Jurassic King Piano, Bearded Eagle, Vadrinoceros, like this thing can help you turn your board state around pretty quickly. And, mid-range game, even early game, you can drop this pretty easily. And its level 2 is triggered with only 1 core on it. And that's
so cheap.
That's
so
really
doable.
good for Nexuses. And
Yeah.
at level 2, during your attack step, when one of your Pterosaur spirits destroys an opponent's spirit by comparing BP, select one of your opponent's spirits with BP equal to that of the destroyed spirit, destroy it. So imagine this wonderful scenario. You have Ancient Fault down. You have Raging Dino Dyrano Rex down. You swing with the Dyrano Rex, kill a chump blocker with the ability. Then they have to block you with another chump blocker. Then Ancient Fault kills a 3rd chump blocker. This shuts down yellow. It shuts down the Camelot Knights, the little curse creature from purple. It's just really versatile. It's cheap. And I think it's one of those sleeper Nexuses, unless you're running Pterosaur and you're leaning full into it. No one's thinking about this, and I think it could also lend itself into red decks that don't rely as heavily on Pterosaur, because you throw a couple of really good Pterosaur trait cards into any red deck, if Ancient Fault's on the field, they're doing a lot of tempo swinging for you. So that's why I like Ancient Fault.
Yeah, not on my list. I think you make a good point about the level 2 being only 1 core.
Yeah.
I really struggle with my Nexuses sometimes, where it's just so much resource commitment
Yeah.
to put my cores on my Nexuses, because like Rocket City, the white Nexus, where if you have 2 cores on it, then when your opponent draws a card, they have to discard a card.
Right.
Really solid effect, but man, does it really spread your resources thin.
2 cores for that, right?
2 cores to make that resource, and then it's a 3 cost with a 1 reduction, so
right.
You have to pay 2 to bring it out. So that's 4 cores you're committing in one single turn. Where like if your opponent is already drawing cards and stuff, and you're playing this to kind of counteract that, they're just getting ahead and you're trying to catch up. Whereas like this card, you can drop this for 1. I'm not saying that this is better than Rocket City. I'm just saying
right.
The costing on it is nice. You drop this for 1, you pay another core. You have a 2 core commitment to this at most, and it's just doing stuff right away for you.
Right. And that's another just fascinating thing about this game and the Nexus. A lot of them, if not most of them, have really great level 1 abilities. And that's awesome.
Yes.
Because they're a little more expensive. You want to drop them, but they're persistent. And so they don't have to have cores to exist. And then a few of them have some very situational, extra powerful effects. But you do have to commit a lot of cores to them. So that's, yeah, again, why Ancient Fault just feels really, really fun, because you can get a very cool extra effect out of Ancient Fault for one additional core. And it's a sleeper. It's a sleeper. I like it.
Yeah. Man, I really want to build a Pterosaur deck.
Me too.
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to do next. I
Yeah,
think so.
we have to. What's your 7?
All right. My 7 is Overraptidon.
Nice. Okay, I was
Yeah.
hoping you.
Yeah. Was he on your list?
No, honorable mention.
Okay.
But
Yeah. I know you like this card.
yeah.
So it's a 1-cost Pterosaur with a 1-cost reduction as well. So you can play this for free. And once again, I'm learning something about myself. I just like the numbers on this guy.
Yeah, the numbers are great. I like,
Um,
you and I have talked a lot about that part of the game, like the stat line
yeah.
for how many cores. This is a really good example of what I feel like really tickles.
Yeah, yeah. You play this for free. So level 1 at 1 core is 1k. Level 2 at 2 cores is 3k, and level 3 at 3 cores is 4k. So you play this dude for free, you throw 3 cores on it. It's now out of Burning Force range. It's a good blocker to block all those little yellow guys. Like,
Yep.
it's just a really solid card. I also, first turn play, it gives you something cheap to throw down. If you have all of those Pterosaur effects as well, it's just an additional source to trigger those. I think it's a really solid card.
I agree. I think there's not a lot left to say about it. Like, yeah, those numbers are great. You're getting extra value starting at level 2, as far as like cores per 1,000, if you want to look at it that way. And yeah, again, it's a Pterosaur. It's got that trait. It's easy to drop at the beginning of your turn. It throws a couple of reduction symbols towards your bigger guys. Yeah, it's awesome. It's great for aggro decks. It's great for Pterosaur decks. Put in red. Chump block with. Just throw them down. Overraptidon. Really cool card.
Absolutely. What's next for you? Number 7 or number 8? I lost track.
My number 8. My
Okay,
number
what you
8
got?
is Pentaceratop.
Nice.
So this is another one of those textless cards that gets us all excited. I'm very familiar with this card after running that textless deck with Norn. It's a 5-cost Pterosaur with 4 red reduction, so you can drop him for 1 if you have a wide board already. Again, no abilities, but at level 1, he has 5,000 attack, 5,000 BP
so big
for 1 core.
Yeah.
So really, if you already have a board established for 2 total cores, you're bringing in another 5k. And at only 3 cores, he hits level 2 for 8,000 BP. And that, again, covers a lot without a lot of core commitment. And that's it. Like, just a big, rad red monster. I like him.
Maybe I shouldn't be giving away this secret tech here on our podcast, but what are your thoughts? I know you played Spring of Norn.
Yep.
What about a Spring of Norn Pterosaur deck?
I'm telling you, I would. I would. When people are focusing Pterosaurs, I don't think they're looking at Spring of Norn, but you should.
Yeah.
Pop Spring of Norn in there.
We've looked at like 3 textless Pterosaurs that are all like very, very good.
Yep. And again, you're splashing Bearded Eagle there. I know it's an Emperor Beast, but that's textless too.
Yeah.
Spring of Norn. Keep it in the back of your mind, everybody. Listen, all the competitive players that already turned off this podcast, they're missing out on these little treats. Spring of Norn. Keep an eye on it.
Secret tech.
Secret tech.
Yeah, we'll know that you listen to the podcast if you have Spring of Norn in your deck. I'll be like, oh, you're a Absolute BSS listener. They're gonna be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my number 8.
All right, my number 8. What the hell is this guy's name? Flame Emperor Agnifen.
Ooh, I like.
Yep, I got him at the launch event, and I did manage to trigger his when summoned ability
Against me.
And it was devastating.
It sure was. This swung the game in your favor, and I think you won like within a couple of turns of dropping this guy. And then I
Yeah.
went looking through my cards for him. Very, very cool. Go for it.
Yeah. He is an Emperor Beast, 5 cost, 2 cost reduction. Um, Level 1 and 2, there's a when summoned ability here. Destroy all your opponent's spirits with 4,000 or fewer BP that have when summoned effects. And the stat lines here, level 1 for 1 core, 3k, level 2 for 3 cores, 6k. So another example of some pretty decent numbers, but really it's that when summoned ability. You can just drop this guy and just swing the game in the other direction. Out of nowhere. So I mean, so if your opponent's trying to get out of Burning Force range, they might have some 4K, or they might just go really wide and have like a bunch of when summoned like little yellow creatures. Like there's the there's the fabled beasts that when summoned are like, what is it, the flying turtle?
Yep.
Um,
I can't
this
wait to
this
do the
just
yellow episode, dude.
this yeah, well this just kills those,
Yep.
which in a game against Cam feels good.
Yeah, from experience, this is one of those kind of specific techie cards. But again, it's got the Emperor Beast trait, which is good for the big Jurassic guy, but also like people don't see this coming, and it can win a game depending on the deck that you're running. Like know your matchups. But you might love slotting this guy into your deck slot.
Yeah. I think if you're doing best of one, it could be fun to just have a one of this. If you're doing like
Yeah.
a best of three, maybe like sideboard a few.
Yeah, put them in your
Just
sideboard. At least
some
one.
fun little tech cards.
Yeah, you might thank us later for Flame Emperor Agnaphon. And he's like a
uh
cool flaming griffin. Very cool art again.
yeah, I dig it. I dig it. All right, number
Right.
9 for you.
Yeah, my number 9 was Flamefish. So what is your number?
My number 9 is Dilophosa. Let me make sure I'm spelling that right,
Yeah,
saying it
okay.
right.
So I was hoping you would bring this one up because we've talked about this a couple of times. I think you
So
like this card more than I do. So I really want to hear why it's on your list.
yeah, so well, actually, first of all, now that I'm looking at the art and all of these, do you notice how there's like 3 glowing things on the dinosaur?
Yeah.
Is it like infected by the pterosaurs or something?
Oh,
Like,
maybe.
is that what's happening? I don't know. There's
Maybe
some.
there's some lore here that we don't know about, but I think the cores I think those are the cores. They're bringing powers in them,
Oh.
but I don't know.
Well, Dilophosa is an Emperor Beast, 3 cost with 2 cost reduction, so you can play this guy for 1, which we know I love that. The numbers on this card
Oh yeah, never
are
mind. I
insane.
get it. This is insane. You're right.
Yeah, level 1 for 1 core is 4K. Level 2 for 3 cores is 8K. Um, so here's the one downside. It has an ability, but it is a downside. During opponent's attack step, this spirit cannot block your opponent's spirits.
But man, you're
So
swinging with him every turn anyway.
yeah, you're just gonna bump him up to 8K and just swing every turn. So here's the thing about this card. I don't think it belongs in every deck. I think you have to very specifically build such an aggressive deck that you do not care about like your blockers.
Or it can go
This
wide enough that to have enough extra, but hacking with. He's worthless to keep stood up going into your opponent's turn.
yeah, you're turning him sideways every single attack step that you have.
If he was a
Um,
pterosaur, I think he'd be broken, and that's
why
probably
is
why
he
he's an
not?
emperor.
Okay, yeah, I think they intended for this card to be a pterosaur, and I think they changed it.
I think so. But I think you have to. There's so much pterosaur tech. Like imagine if this guy was a pterosaur and you can drop him on turn 1, and you can get the Nexus I just talked about. Why can I not think? Ancient
Ancient Fault.
Ancient Fault. He's attacking, killing something, and then immediately killing a second thing because, or you just take your life. Like it's so aggressive.
Yeah, I also think that this card maybe, I don't know that it's that good of a card right now, but I do think this card is well worth revisiting when we get more cards in the card pool if we have a lot of life gain.
Yeah.
So like if you can just turn your spirit sideways every turn and then take a few hits. If you have a way to heal yourself, and you can just like outpace your opponent, I think that you don't even care.
Yeah.
You just take the hit while you're wide open, but you're
I'm
just swinging with this big dinosaur every turn.
I kind of want to make 3 and 2 cost red yellow deck that does the stuff where it's like if a creature was destroyed, flip the top card of your deck. That card has the same cost or lower than the creature, draw it or something.
Yeah.
Dilophosa, Hippocampo, Ervata, and some Fabled Beast go wide. I think that could be a really, really deck. Red, yellow aggro.
Yeah.
And some flash that buffs him up. Like, I don't know. I might look into that.
Could be really good.
This guy would fit right into deck for sure.
Yeah. What are we on now? We're on our last ones?
Last ones.
All right. You go first. What's your number 10?
All right. My number 10. Your favorite in mine. We had a lot of fun with this guy at the launch. Dino Man Tyrannoid.
Oh, yes.
So this guy is just cool. His numbers are trash as far as like how many cores you need on him to be good. However, I feel like he makes a lot of really interesting running an aggro deck, and you have some points where you need to block to not be run over. Dino Man Tyrannoid is a 3-cost Dragonoid Pterosaur. He has the Pterosaur keyword, which is important. And he can be reduced by 2. At level 1 for 1 core, he has 2,000 BP. At level 2 for 3 cores, 5,000. And level 3 for 6 cores is 6,000. But at all 3 levels, treat this spirit as a level 3 spirit if you only have 2 or fewer spirits on the field. So that is counting him. But early turn 1, you drop this guy, or even turn 2 where you only have a couple of guys, you can treat him as a 6K. He's really fun in the early game. Even if you drop a third, you can swing in. They're going to block it or take the life. But if they block and kill your swing, he goes back up to 6K. So I just think it's a really fun kind of dance. The Dino Man and the Flamefish especially. That's my 9 and 10 spot, because I think they do things in red that make your opponent forget that they're playing red.
Yeah. It's especially in the early stages of this game where everyone's still kind of figuring everything out.
Yeah.
Just like killing one of your opponent's spirits and then not realizing that he goes back up to a 6K.
Yeah.
Could be like the mistake that costs you the whole game.
Yep. And then, for only 3 cores, you keep him in that middle area where when you have more than 2 creatures, he's a 5K. And then if you dip down back to 2, he bumps up another 1,000. That makes the difference in a lot of matchups. Also, the flavor text is so funny.
Yeah, I was just reading that. Okay, this card kind of terrifies me, if I'm being honest.
So if you're not watching the video version of this, go over there and watch this, because he's just a roided out dinosaur, right? But the flavor text said, because he's a Dragonoid Pterosaur, right? I mentioned that. Some among the Dragonoids and Pterosaurs could not resist the appeal of forbidden love and had children together. So that's what this is. Dino Man Tyrannoid.
It's just like this muscular dinosaur man with like 50 million teeth and this weird looking tongue and
a lot of gums.
Yeah, a lot of gums.
A lot of veins bulging out.
Yeah. I guess how could you resist the forbidden love of this
of Dragonoids and Pterosaurs? I don't know how.
I know.
And he's like the only. He might be. I'll need to look this. Be the only card in red that shares 2 traits. No, I guess there are some Star Dragon Ancient. Still, that's just interesting. That's a weird card.
Yeah, it's a weird card. I do want to say with this card, I think that sometimes, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, I think sometimes it can force you into a situation where maybe you're making bad decisions just because of the text on this card.
I think it's definitely not an intro level, like, I'm gonna throw this card in my deck because I think it definitely is a kind of card, and I don't
Yeah.
think he belongs in every deck either, for sure. I think he definitely can, but I think there's a lot more to this guy, and I would run probably like Pterosaur deck. I
Yeah.
think he gets a little better because of that Pterosaur.
It's tough with him because you really want to see him first turn.
Yeah, you do. You really do. You want to drop 3 cores on this guy turn 1, even even if you draw into him turn 2 and you already have something out that's kind of bulky. Again,
Yeah.
in that release week, I played Flamefish and Dynoman Tyrannoid, and that got me a lot of extra turns
Yeah, I
because they're
believe it.
weird. But so yeah, I threw him on the list because again, he's a pterosaur. He's just kind of weird, and he definitely shakes up the game a little bit. I guarantee you, not a lot of people are talking about this guy in a casual, competitive kind of way. But I love him.
Yeah, he's cool. He almost made my list for sure.
That's cool.
Number 10 for me, my last one. This is a card that I have not played with, but man, it's always in the back of my mind whenever I'm like building decks. Is like, oh, I want to mess with that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's White Hole Dragon.
Cool. I love the art on this card.
It's beautiful. It definitely feels like an homage to like Blue Eyes White Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh
Yeah,
or something.
this
Like,
is a very
yeah, it really feels like a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
I feel like all the Star Dragons definitely give me that vibe. The red deck that I have built with my very limited collection definitely leans into Star Dragon. But
Yeah.
I've not played them, but I think they're neat. I didn't put any of them on my list because I've not messed with, but I think it can be really. Yeah, go ahead and talk about white.
Yeah, so it is a 4 cost with 1 reduction Star Dragon. And at level 1 with 1 gem, it's 3k. At level 2 with 3 gems, it's 5k. At level 3 with 4 gems, it's 6k. And at all 3 levels, you can flash this spirit in, and it has Awaken. So Awaken is you can remove any number of cores from your other spirits and place them onto this spirit. And when destroyed effects are not triggered by doing this. So essentially,
Real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
And you might have started talking about this. I have a quick question then. If you can trigger it as flash, does that mean? Oh well, that's kind of dumb. I was gonna say, could you declare a blocker, then flash this card in, kill the blocker you declare the battle? But I feel like if you kill the blocker, the attack would go.
So no, you're absolutely right.
Oh, really?
I believe I saw, well, okay, maybe we're giving bad advice here, but I am like 99% sure I read or watched a YouTube video or something where they mentioned that if a blocker disappears, like, dies, goes down to 0 BP or has the cores taken away in the
Uh-huh.
middle of blocking, that the attack is still blocked.
Ah,
And so,
amazing.
and that makes sense to me because that's
I
how it
think
works
so
in
too.
Magic.
Yeah.
The only exception in Magic is like Trample would still go through.
Right.
But for
But that tracks. Okay.
yeah, I think that this card's interesting though because of the flash effect. Like the ability to pull this in out of your hand as a surprise blocker is just really interesting to me. The numbers aren't quite as good on this card, but the it has another ability. So level 3, when it's destroyed, you can select one of your opponent's spirits with BP equal to or fewer than this one and destroy it. So 6,000 or fewer BP, more than likely you can destroy it. Yeah, a big removal effect here. And in fact, if you flash this into block and you know it dies in the process, then it's like flashing in removal in a
Yeah,
way.
you're right. There's
Um,
yeah, this is a very versatile card.
I like this card because I feel like the skill cap on using this card is extremely high to the point where I don't know that this card I feel like this is an amazingly good card that's very difficult to use.
I
And
agree.
so it makes me excited to try it out
Yeah.
because I feel like if I could get really good with this card, I could do some pretty incredible stuff.
It's cool too because if someone's looking at the board and they think they have enough to swing and you don't even have a bird card set.
Hmm.
Um and they start attacking, you start defending and you start losing. Get all those. Then they go for that final attack, swing in White Hole Dragon. Um it either lives or not, but all of their cards are now turned. And you go into your next turn, you have a crap ton of cores. You know, if you can flood the board after that or get a Star Blast draw some cards, they have no one to defend with on that counterattack. They thought they were going to win, and you turn it around because you flashed this guy from your hand. That excites me. That
Yeah.
is another one of those things where it's like you can look at the board state, but you never truly know what's going to happen. That's really neat. And while White Hole Dragon's Awaken effect says when destroyed effects are not triggered, I still think White Hole Dragon might find its way into other colored decks as just a final way to not die.
Yeah, I mean it's 4 cost with 1 reduction, so it's you're not really getting a lot of reduction on it in red. So
Right.
there's not really too much of an additional cost to play this outside of red.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a cool card. When we play next, I have a mono red deck ready to that runs a lot of these Star Dragons with the so I'm really excited for us to kind of discover how that all works and what those interactions will bring. And again, said it before, but like this game has a lot of depth. The meta is not established. There are a lot of cool cards that do a lot of different card pool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've never played with this card and I'm excited to try it out. And I also really want to try Pterosaurs next.
Yep.
There's so many decks. The card pool is small, but there's like 50 decks I want to build. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just it's incredible how much there is to do even with the limited card pool. And when we get that next set in what is it, July?
Yep.
I mean there's going to be even more to do. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. It's fun. Well, that's both of our top tens. We're a little over an hour. Moving forward, you know, we had a little introduction, kind of bring y'all on board, and I'm sure this outro's. But we want to keep these, you know, no longer than an hour, just for retention's sake, and just to make it out. But I'm pretty sure that's just gonna kind of bring us to the end of this. Do you have anything to add there, Eric?
No, if you listened all the way through, thank you so much.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts on our format here, like if you really liked it, let us know. If you hated it, keep that to yourself. I'm just kidding. You should let us know about that as well. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully this is a fun little podcast to get your imagination running, make you excited to build some more BSS decks.
Yeah. We are going to get an email for this. I forgot to do that before we recorded. It'll be either absolutebss@gmail.com or absolutebsspod.com. But those should be in the show notes wherever you're listening to this after the fact. So I really didn't even need to say that. But all that to say, send us your thoughts. What are your top 10 reds? Like if you did this kind of draft thing that we did, where do you think we're wrong? Where do our lists line up? What are some that we missed? Let us know, because again, red is something that we don't look into a lot. But we're gonna do this kind of format with the next 3 colors, and then we'll move into something else until the new color comes out. But we're gonna try to put out some Battle Spirit Saga content, and I just think it's fun to about the game and theory craft, and appreciate anyone listen through to now, and I appreciate you, Eric. We played some games before this on my Twitch channel. I stream card games and video games, you know, everything else you do on Twitch, but there are some VODs up, clearly labeled. You can see us do some pretty early play testing with our personal collections. Again, super competitive, but just actual cards that we actually have, but on really, really nice tabletop simulator that is scripted. So the
Oh,
name of who made that, but
yeah,
shout out to that.
yeah, huge shout out to that tabletop simulator mod. If you're looking for a way to like really grind out some games or you just want to play a ton, check out it's like the second mod that comes up. It's the scripted one.
Yeah.
The scripting in it is insane. Like you click on and maybe I'm just not as advanced with tabletop sim as other people are, but to me it's incredible.
It's
Like
amazing.
you click on the steps and it does everything for you and I'm just like, man, thank you so much to whoever put all that time into that
Yeah.
because it's awesome.
I'll get a proper credit for that and probably link that in the show notes too. But
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's super clean. It's got the 4 starter deck, so anyone from any level can go in and start playing the game. If you want to friend with it, you just both have to have Tabletop Simulator, but the workshop for it is free. And then one final shout out, if you're watching the video one, or if you're just deck builder, the one on the screen right now is bss.dev, unofficial Battle Spirit Saga deck builder. My gosh, is it really, really great. Sort the cards, you can you can decks, you can text files and export those into the TTS mod. You can also get little pictures of it. I like having my URL, my image, and my text document for it all in one place, and it's nice. Thank you to bss.dev for that. Very useful. Other than that, yeah, I think we're gonna sign off of here. Thank you for tuning in to the Absolute BSS podcast. My name's Cameron.
My name's Eric.
We'll catch you next time. Have a
Bye. See ya.